All right, class. And here we are going to learn how to make our airfoils for aerospace inside of AutoCAD. You have the option of doing AutoCAD, Publisher, or Fusion 360. Fusion 360 should already be up on Schoology, so I'm now going to show you how to do AutoCAD. So let me go ahead and start with the new drawing here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in units, UNITS. Let's enter. And it's going to ask me what type of units this is. Right in here in the middle, it says inches. That's what I'm going to go with and say OK. Then I'm going to type the word limits, LIMITS, limits. And it's asking me how big do I want my space to be. You don't need to click anything here. Just type in 0, tab, 0. And that's going to start in the bottom left corner. So 0, tab, 0. Hit tab one more time. Press enter. Now it's asking where the upper right corner is. For here, I want you to type in 10, tab, 10, tab. That's going to be 10 inches up and 10 inches to the right. That'll be our board size. Press enter. All right, now that we have our setup for there, I'm going to come down here to our toggles at the bottom. It says model down here. The first one is our display grid on. That's cool. Next one is snap mode. And then there's a little down arrow right next to our snap mode. I'm going to click that, and my third option is snap settings. So I'm going to select that. It's going to bring this window up. What I want you to do is to come down here to the bottom right where it says grid behavior, turn off display grid beyond limits. So we're going to have that off. And then for my snap spacing, my snap X spacing, my snap Y spacing, and my grid spacing, X and Y, instead of 0.5, I'm going to make these 0.25. So 0.25, 0.25, tab. And there we go. I'm going to say OK. And you're going to notice that your grid got really small. It's probably over here on the right. So I'm going to bring this over and zoom in just a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. So this is the size of our board. Now I'm going to come down here to my toggles again. And this again, the second one says snap mode off. I'm going to turn that on just by clicking it. So it's now a little blue there. And I'm going to build a rectangle. And I'm going to zoom in to this bottom corner here. And it may be a little hard to see, but there's a very faint line right here. I'm going to start a rectangle right on that. It's going to want to snap to it, so I'm happy. And then I'm going to zoom out, get up to the upper right corner, and grab the one, not all the way in the corner, but in or down one and left one, which is going to make a 9.5 by 9.5 inch box. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to have a little bit of space. So you can click that, and your box is now good. From here, turn back off those snap to grid. So I have that back off. And let's bring in our image. Our image, you should have saved it from FoilSim. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Attach. And I'm going to grab my thumbnail. Say OK. And this, I like to leave specify on screen on. And the scale, I tend to leave that on. So I can do that all on screen. I'm going to say OK. And you just click somewhere and then make this thing as big as you want it to be. And there's my image. So I'm happy with that. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here back to the Home tab. And I'm going to grab a line. And I'm going to start my line right at the lead edge. I'm going to click, move it off to the right a little bit, or to the left, whichever way you want to work this thing. Your top number, your first number, change that to a 6. That makes that a 6-inch line. And then just rotate this thing around until it's going right through the tail edge. There we go. I clicked again, and now I can press Escape. I have a line that's now 6 inches long, and that's going to allow me to scale up my image. So I'm going to come right here. I'm going to scale this thing up using the handles, and then I'll have to move it around a little bit and get this thing to be 6 inches. Let's see if I'm pretty close here. Almost. There we go. It hits my lead edge, hits my tail edge. I'm happy with this. I can go grab that original line and hit delete. I now have something I can sketch around. So I'm happy with this. Now I'm going to come up here to draw. and I am going to grab the one that says spline fit. And what this is going to allow you to do is to make a bunch of different spots on here that you can then move around and do it as you see fit to make your airfoil. And you're just trying to hit the middle of this line here. So I'm going to start one right here at the lead edge. And I'm going to kind of come up a little bit. The more points you put in here, the more accurate you will be, but also it can make it a little bit jagged. So like this last one, I put it right here. And noticing that I'm pretty much got a straight line to my tail point, I'm going to click right here on my tail, and I'm going to start coming back again. Something like this. And start coming back up. And see if I can finish off. Something like that. Oops. Do not hit escape at the end like I just did. I'm going to have to redo that. You're going to want to hit enter at the end. So once again, point here. Probably not a bad thing to show you me doing this again. Just clicking around. Do 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 do. That's my whole music. Hope you appreciate it. Very good. And procedure. And I now have my image here. Down here in my snaps, I have this thing that I can snap to points. I'm going to grab the end of my line here and move it right over on top of it, hopefully. That way it's nice and even, and we now have a solid object. I'm happy with that. All right. With that said, I now have my airfoil slightly designed. And I say slightly, I just going to make it look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to click on this edge here, and I have my show image. I'm going to turn that off. Press escape, and I can now see my airfoil. Does this thing look smooth? It looks actually smooth enough. I'm okay with this. If I needed to make adjustments, I could click on this thing and I could move the handles around, so on and so forth. Click and then click again. So I'm going to undo that. The other thing I can do is, select that. There we go. And one more time, select it, right click. And I could go ahead and display the control vertices. And with this thing, I can then move these little dots around whatever I needed them to be. But I'm happy with this. So this is my airfoil. Cool. All right, now the next thing I have to do with this thing, I'm going to move it over so you can see this a little bit better. I need to put those little boxes in so that the support bars can go through this. Up here, go to rectangle, and I'm going to create a rectangle. I'm just going to click once. My sizing, the width of this thing, I'm going to make this thing, let's go with 0.25. And then my height, I want to go with 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to go 1 divided by 8. It'll figure out the decimal for me. I happen to know it's 0.125, but again, you could type in 1/8. And I now have this box. I'm happy with that. Press enter. And then I'm going to click down here, click up here. So I now have my whole box. I'm just going to move this somewhere that makes sense to me. I don't want it too close to any of these edges. So something like that works. And you want this one up near the front. Now I'm going to create a copy of this. And it's going to ask me to select my objects. I can just go ahead and grab all those objects. Press enter. I now have my crosshair again. It's going to say where do I want to start my point from, where I'm moving it from. I'm going to click right there. And I'm just going to put 3 more of these out here. Where you put them, it's not super important. I'll press escape when I was done. But just try to get 2 near the front and 2 near the back. That's really all you're trying to do. Oops. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit. There we go. All right. So now that I have all this put together, we're about done. All you're going to do now is select all of these. You're going to group them. So I'm going to group. wherever it's there, up here, group. I can now move these things around. I can do copies. I can mirror these things. I can zip them around. Once you have all of them on here that you want, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. Last step is to select them all. Come up here, it says line type. It has these different thickness lines. Hit the drop down, make it 0.5 millimeters so the laser cuts it. And then you can save and submit it. That's what you need. Any questions? Let me know.